Hi everyone, so welcome back to the Learning C++. So in this video, we are going to learn about if-else and switch case statements in C++. So what are these called? Actually, decision control. So if you want to control the flow of your code on the basis of some conditions, you can use if-else switch case statements as well. The basic purpose of if-else or switch case statements, decision control statements, is to control the flow of your code on the basis of certain conditions or a certain scenario. So let's have a look at the syntax for if-else or switch case statements. So let's start with an example. Let's say we have example integer num1 is equals to 20. For example, we will just declare them and we will take input from the user. And then we will say integer num2 also nothing, no initialization for both variables. Now let's say cout enter num1. So we will take input and store it in num1 and we will say cin num1. Now let's say cout enter num2 is equals to this and cin num2. Now let's see how does the if-else syntax looks like. So let's apply a condition. If num1 is greater than num2, we will print cout num1 is greater. And let's say we have an else, and we will have another else with it. We will say num2 is greater than num1. And we will print as cout num2 is greater. Okay? And then after then we will have else. And else means anything else other than these above two conditions, we will have this output. So which is num1 is equals to num2. If num1 is not greater than num2 and num2 is not greater than num1, that means num1 is equals to num2. So let's have a look. So enter the num1. Let's say we have num1 and num2. So num2 is greater. Yes, num2 is greater. Now let's have a look at the other example, which is 2 and 1. Now num1 is greater. Now let's have both values same. Let's say we have 1 and 1. So num1 equals to num2. So this is how the syntax for if-else statements looks like, and it can be used for multiple if conditions and multiple else if. So you can have an if within if as well, which is called the nested if else statements, and you can only have if else as well. So if you do not want to use if else and else if together, you can only have else as well. You can also have only if as well. So the if will only check for this one condition. If it is satisfied, this code will be executed. Okay, so what do we learn from this? This means that there will be an if statement. Within if, we will have some sort of condition. When that condition is true, this line of code will be executed. Otherwise, this code will not be executed if this condition is false. Okay, so if the condition is true, the code which is defined under that if or under that else will be executed. Now here is another tip. If you have defined a code within these brackets, that will be considered under the if. If you haven't defined these curly brackets, you just wrote a line of code, only first line of code will be executed. Okay, so this is a note for you guys. Now switch works a bit differently. For example, if I say switch, so here in this area you will store some kind of variable or some kind of condition as well. But you cannot store a single condition then here. So what you will have to do is that you will use a variable which value will be changed. Either it will be true or it will be false. Okay? Or it can be some another constant as well. So for example, if I say switch A, then let's have a look what we can do with this switch case statements as well. So let's see, if I have, let's declare a variable integer A, and we will take input from user. Cout, enter the value of A equals to. Now let's take input and store it in A. Okay. Now on the basis of this value, our flow of control will be executed. So what does this switch A means? This switch A means that we have started a switch case chain where our decision will be dependent on A. Now let's say if I write case 1, we will use a single colon for it. Let's say if I write case 1 and I write cout and print num1 plus num2, okay? And we will use break keyword. If you do not use a break keyword, all the statements under the true case will be executed. So you must use a break statement after each and every case. Let's say case 2, we have cout num1 multiply by num2, and let's break out of it. And we will say default cout invalid input. Let's run this program. Now let's say we have a num1. So num1 is like 7 and num2 is 8. Now we have entered the value of A. So if I enter the value of A as 1, it will print the sum of num1 and num2. Why it will print? Because I have defined a case here. Case 1. If the value of A is 1, then print out num1 and num2. Let's try the another case. Let's say I have 7, 8 and I want the value of A as 2. Then we will have the multiplication of these two numbers. Now let's say if we haven't defined any of the cases like 1 and 2, and if someone enters something else other than 1 and 2, what will happen? 7, 8. And I'll say, let's say I, invalid input. So whenever any case is not defined, the code will jump to the default code. So this will be executed for those conditions for which you haven't defined any kind of case. Okay, so this was the basic idea of switch case statements and if else as well. As I told you, if you do not use these break statements, each of the cases will be executed. So in general, in simple words, this code will not break here. Okay, so let's have a look and I will print the case 1. So you will see that case 1 and case 2 both are executed. 3, 4 and I'll have 1. So you can see that we have 7 and 12. So 7 is the sum of both and 12 is the multiplication of them. So we are not using and else, that's why you are seeing it as a 7, 12. So you will have to use the break statement or break keyword after each case is ended. And you can also explicitly define the cases as well. For example, if you want to use the brackets just for simplicity or more readability of code, you can use the brackets as well. So it will still work. Now let's have a look. Let's run this code again, and 4, 5, and we can have the output still as well. So you can apply this syntax as well. So this was the brief introduction about if else and switch case. So these can be very handful concepts to control the code flow. So you can use if else and switch case to perform condition based coding. For example, if you want to make a calculator in which you have to check whether the user has entered plus, minus, multiplication or division, on the basis of those operators you will have to decide what the output should be. So you can control your code on decision based or on condition based with the help of if else and switch case, and this was a brief introduction about it. Later on in this series we will learn and we will practice these concepts with some practice problems and a project as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.